1460 WVOX.
Live from Whitney Media, 1460 WVOX, it's time to get the inside stories from Yonkers and across Westchester. This is On the Level with Hezi Aris. Hezi Aris is the publisher and editor of the Westchester Herald and the Yonkers Tribune. You can join Hezi and his guests now at 914-636-0110. Time now for the inside stories On the Level. Here's Hezi Aris.
Thanks, John Harper. Great introduction. I appreciate your taking the time to create it. Good morning, everybody. My name is Hezi Aris. We have a great show this morning. I think we'll be speaking to Chloe Agnew, who's a Celtic woman who will be performing at Radio City Music Hall March 13th and 14th. And in our studios with me today is Dan Schorr, who's running for district attorney in Westchester County. Chris is our engineer, so he'll be taking calls, and we'd like you to consider holding off until after the first half hour or so, in the hope that you'll give our guest an opportunity to express himself on different issues and how he's running and what he's running, and because we haven't seen each other since December, but at least in these studios. Chris, is Chloe on the line or no? Okay, so maybe it's possible that something went wrong there. Then it's just a great introduction. Right around the corner is St. Patrick's Day. Celtic women are going to be performing on the stage of Radio City Music Hall. It's March 13th and 14th. Chloe was one of the singers. She's the youngest one, and I guess she couldn't make the show. But for those people who want to celebrate and enjoy St. Patrick's Day, it's something that's worthwhile seeing. I'm sure you're familiar with the Celtic Woman program because it's been seen on PBS for quite a while. So, Chris, in case she calls, tell her we're not taking the call because we've passed that time. So we're going to get to speak to Mr. Schorr. How you doing?
It's great to see you, Hezi. Thanks for having me back on the show.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure. We're going to have to keep doing this, So tell us what's been going on. First of all, you're running for Westchester County District Attorney.
That's right.
You're running on the Republican line. And have you been endorsed by any other parties as well?
It's too soon for official endorsements.
Okay.
The Republican convention should be within the next month or so.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
And other lines also in the next few months will be making their endorsements.
Okay.
So it's a little early for that. But I have no opposition on the Republican line, so I will be the Republican candidate. We had a big opening for our campaign office in White Plains a few weeks ago.
That was exciting.
Yeah, and we've been all over the county talking to police officers, talking to people who are residents of this county, talking to them and hearing their concerns about the crime in this county. And I've been talking about my ideas for fighting crime and improving the DA's office.
What have you seen since December till about now? When you go out there and you reach the public, I know that you've been working the Metro North trains and so on.
I've been talking to a lot of people. People are really concerned about the growing crime in Westchester. We have the last stats show that murder, rape, and burglary are all up while they're down statewide. And people are
they up across the county?
They're up across the county.
Because I know they were up in Yonkers.
Right. They're up across the county. A lot of that is because of Yonkers and Mount Vernon.
Mm-hmm.
And people are concerned about it. I'm actually going to be at a Mount Vernon crime summit tonight where a lot of community leaders will be there to discuss solutions to this problem. And I know the DA's office has a big role to play. Right now, there's kind of a disconnect between the district attorney's office and the community. When people think about solving crime, people don't often think about reaching out to the DA's office. People don't know what the DA's office can do for them. And I think that's because they're not really involved in the community. I want to restructure the DA's office so that the prosecutors are more involved with the local police, supporting the police, and working to fight the crime in the neighborhoods.
Would it be fair? We're speaking to Dan Schorr, who's running for district attorney in the county of Westchester. Is it fair to say that it's not... It isn't up to snuff, or is there a better way of reaching out to the public? Because I know that the district attorney did have some outreach programs in order to deal with crime, but that doesn't mean that whatever has been in place works. So
Right.
I don't know how to change that.
The outreach that they've done is a little superficial, such as
Oh, it
having a
is.
forum
Okay.
here. I'm talking about major restructuring of the office, and I could tell you specifically what I'd like to do, which
You
day
tell
one
us.
would change the way we prosecute crime in this county. Right now, we have a system where prosecutors who are assigned to a criminal case, the assigned assistant district attorney will change every month or so, or change every time there's a different stage in the case. For instance, if you're a crime victim, you'll meet an assistant DA who will say, I'm handling the arrest, I'm handling the paperwork and the arraignment. And then another assistant DA will talk to you a month or two later and say, I'm handling the grand jury presentment of the case. And then a third one will handle the trial. And there are a lot of problems with this. First of all, the victim has to keep retelling a very personal and upsetting story to a number of prosecutors over and over.
Right.
And I had a friend who was recently the victim of a misdemeanor sex crime in Westchester, and she told me she had to go through 4 different assistant district attorneys retelling this very disturbing story over and over again. It also prevents the prosecutor from doing a very good prosecution, because a good trial attorney from the beginning is thinking about trial. They're going to the crime scene thinking, what evidence do I need to secure? What witnesses do I need to speak with? They're thinking about trial strategy. I was a trial attorney for a number of years. I tried homicide cases. I've been to homicide scenes. And I know that you can't just jump into a case at trial and be a good prosecutor. The other problem is in local courts around this county, the cases are not always assigned to a specific prosecutor. There's kind of a diffusion of responsibility that whoever is in court on a certain day will be looking at files and saying, oh, let me see what the facts are here. Let me see if I could give you a plea offer to the defense attorney. What I want to do, I want to have the second a crime is reported, an assistant DA is assigned to that case. That assistant will be reachable by beeper, by cell phone, immediately can talk to the police officer, talk to the victim, deal with securing evidence, and will be with that victim and that police officer all the way till the end of the case. And this will allow them to get more involved in the community and understand the issues in the community. They won't be just floating around without any real ties to the case or to the community. And that's a major change. The way I'm talking about structuring the office is how good offices are run all around the state, at least in New York City and around the country. And the federal government runs it like that. Westchester is using an old-fashioned method of prosecution that's ineffective and needs to end.
It seems to be the case, because you've explained it, at least as far as I can comprehend it, at least in my own mind. I'm satisfied that makes much more logic to me. What was the reason for the old way of doing it? It was imposed probably years and years ago, and you say that it hasn't evolved. And we should tell people we're speaking to Dan Schorr, who's running for Westchester County District Attorney. So why was it initially put together that way? Was it to give people some limelight?
No, I think the reason 15, 20 years ago and before that, cases were structured in the way that the less experienced prosecutor would handle the beginning of the case. And then as it got closer to trial, the more experienced prosecutor would handle the case.
So it was a teaching methodology.
Right, exactly. So if you're new, you handle the arrest. If you're experienced, you handle the trial. But criminal prosecutors and police came to realize that it was really an inefficient method of prosecuting crime.
I'm sorry.
Well, a better way is to have the less experienced prosecutors handle the less serious cases, but still handle them from beginning to end. So if there's a misdemeanor assault, you may have a second-year prosecutor handle it from beginning to end, and then if there's a murder, you'll have the veteran prosecutor handle that from beginning to end, but both learn about all stages of the trial, and both are accessible and reliable and accountable from beginning to end of the case. And all offices that are effective and have good reputations run that way now, and except Westchester.
So basically the newer assistant district attorney would have oversight, or there would be oversight of him or her as they're learning through the process. So you don't mitigate the learning experience; you just assist it.
Right, exactly. So if there's a misdemeanor assault somewhere, you'll have a second or third year prosecutor prosecuting it. You'll have supervisors who have been there for a long time, making sure that the case is being prosecuted well. And you need skilled people from beginning to end all across the board, whether it's a misdemeanor or a felony. But the problem is that right now the community doesn't have real access to prosecutors that are going to be with them from the beginning of the case to the end. And I've talked to police officers who are very frustrated. They say they call over to the DA's office, local court, and they say, what's happening with a specific case, and they don't know who the assigned prosecutor is. And even defense attorneys say that they go to court looking to talk about a case, and the prosecutor will say, well, that's not my case, it's someone else's case, or it's not assigned to anyone. I even had 2 prosecutor friends, one from Manhattan, one from Queens, who had Westchester components of some of their cases, and they called over to the DA's office here, and they could not get a prosecutor who could take responsibility and say, this is my case, and that's a problem.